Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. Thank you, as always, for joining us on this beautiful day in America. Every day under Donald Trump is a beautiful day. It's exactly 1 month to the date when Donald Trump was sworn back in as 47, making him 45 and 47. Folks, each day that goes by, I think it gets harder and harder for the Marxist Dems to fathom that Donald Trump is back in the Oval Office, that Donald Trump is accompanied by folks like Elon Musk each and every single day inside of that Oval Office. Elon Musk taking on the massive duty. It now turns out he's actually an official White House employee, senior advisor to President Trump. On paper is his title. But the Marxist Dems having a very tough time dealing with it. The legacy media, another one. Any given point in the day, you can turn on CNN or MSNBC or sometimes CNBC and find out them having a meltdown about Elon Musk investigating government corruption and government fraud. Now, each and every day you hear me say, why would anyone be against that? So the latest meltdown comes as Elon Musk wants access to IRS documents, maybe to find out where politicians are getting their money, see some tax returns. They got Donald Trump's tax returns. There's no reason we shouldn't see 435 members of Congress's tax returns just to make sure everything is good, everything's squared away. If you're following the law, you shouldn't have to worry about someone being on your back. If you're in your car speeding, you're constantly looking out your rearview mirror, seeing if the cops are following you. If you're in your car on the highway with your seatbelt on and you're driving the speed limit, you ain't looking in the rearview mirror because you know you're not breaking the law. You're not looking left and right to see if there's a cop ahead of you because you're following the law. There's nothing to worry about, right? So makes you wonder why these Dems are so upset. It turns out the one person that the DOGE committee wants to have access to these documents, Marxist Dems are flipping out. We learn now that Biden gave 919 people access to the IRS tax database of people who can see tax returns and all sensitive data that they're alleging Elon Musk or the DOGE committee should not have any access to. We want to know where the money's going. We want to know who's making money. This comes as the House Oversight Committee has revealed $241 million, folks, $200 million, $41 million last year, was spent on transgender surgeries and treatment on animals. Folks, on animals. Why can't they leave these things alone? The dogs, the rats, the monkeys. Why can't they just leave them alone? It's unbelievable. Everyone's complaining Elon Musk is not elected, was never elected by anybody. Well, neither was Anthony Fauci. And Anthony Fauci has had far more power over the course of his term at NIH than Elon Musk has and will have. Elon Musk is not going to have the power to go ahead and ask for allocations of hundreds of millions and billions of dollars for NIH. He's merely doing the quite opposite. He's cutting the funding. He's cutting spending. So when I hear people say, Elon Musk wasn't elected to do anything, well, neither was Anthony Fauci. Okay. Simple as that. Folks, our guest today is the great Roger Stone, our weekly guest here on the Great America Show. So much to talk about. And Roger is our go-to guy for everything and anything politics once a week here on the Great America Show. Roger, as always, terrific to have you here on the Great America Show another week with Roger Stone. We're coming up now. We're exactly a month to the day when President Trump was sworn back in as 47. Give me a report card so far on how Donald Trump is doing. Has he exceeded expectations? Is he on par with expectations? Or is he slacking?
I think we both know that he has vastly exceeded expectations. This is kind of like turning around an ocean liner. It's not easy, but we've uncovered perhaps the most shocking thing in our history, which is our tax dollars have been paying to prop up all of these false narratives and all of these illicit efforts to destroy the Trump presidency and ultimately destroy the Constitution and the country. So we knew the Russian collusion hoax was fake, but we didn't know that our tax dollars are being used to pay media outlets like the New York Times and Politico and other fake news outlets, propaganda fronts really is what they are, to push their narrative. The two phony Ukrainian impeachments, the the theft of the 2020 election, which Lou talked a lot about, the January 6th Fedsurrection, which we haven't been told the truth. But Elon Musk, who I think is a great man, an unguided missile individual of enormous courage, is uncovering not billions, but trillions of misuse of our tax dollars for political purposes. And we now know that some of these federal judges who are ruling that Trump can't do what he's doing, which of course he can, they themselves are on the take. I mean, they're getting hundreds of thousands, in some cases millions of dollars through USAID. So they have a conflict of interest. I think we're going to have a wholesale house cleaning here before Trump and Musk are over. But now you add to that banning men from playing in women's sports, doing away with the DEI policies that have literally destroyed our military, the historic peace overtures that Trump is making to the Russians. You see now openly our our European allies, they don't want peace. They want war. They like war. They favor war. And war is, as you know, extremely profitable for some people. Zelensky is an impediment to peace. The guy's ripped off $350 billion. And as Trump said yesterday in his press conference, where did that money go? Where did the money go? So very interesting comments by my friend Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee, who says before long, he knows that we're going to see that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, a number of others have offshore bank accounts brimming with money. I assume this is the skim off of the Ukrainian deal. So friends of mine who are in the government, friends of mine who are outside the government, but in the know, tell me that what we're about to learn is even more incredible than what we have already learned. Trump is committed to making fundamental change in the government. He is committed to exposing all of this fraud, all of this waste, and all of this corruption. And he has really established, an all-star team. It's kind of like the new Justice League. There's only one more member to fall in place. I think that's going to happen today. That would be Kash Patel as the FBI director. So between Pam Bondi at Justice, Robert Kennedy at HHS, Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence, Scott Bessent, who's really a great outside-the-box thinker, a libertarian, somebody who's got some very solid ideas about how we can reduce the national debt, how we can address the affordable housing problem in America. This is so much better, heads and shoulders better than the Trump cabinet of 2017. It's extraordinary.
I was talking with Rod Blagojevich yesterday about the cabinet now and the cabinet that would have possibly been in 2020. And, in hindsight, Roger, I want your assessment on this. I think there's some sort of silver lining. I know the audience is going to get upset with me saying this because it's wrong and right at the same time. There's some sort of silver lining with the 2020 election being stolen. Am I happy the election was stolen? No, but I am happy that we've been able to expose that it was stolen just based on looking at a single deviation in Democratic voters like this and then like this and then back like this. Is deviation enough for me to know that something went on in that election? If he would have been sworn back in 2020, he would have had a Democrat Congress for the first 2 years, Democratic Senate. They would have impeached him probably 2 or 3 more times. It would have been a lame duck presidency, in my opinion, compared to what he was able to do from 2016 to 2020. He comes back now, 4 years later, completely re-energized, recharged, and I mean ready to absolutely throw flames, with not holding anything back because he has absolutely nothing to lose. He has nobody to answer to. He doesn't owe anybody any money. He doesn't owe anybody any favors, Roger. And you know what? He never has to run for re-election again. What's your thoughts about him winning now versus in 2020?
Actually think I agree with you, John. I think having spent 4 years in the wilderness, 4 years fighting the tsunami of lawfare, seeing the full corruption of the Biden administration, particularly in the weaponization of our criminal justice system, has prepared him for what will be a much greater term as president. So, look, I think he was a great president in his first term. He built the most robust economy in our history up until that time. We had record unemployment levels among Black, white, Hispanic, young, old, urban, rural, all Americans. We had a very robust economy. We rebuilt our military strength, which had been allowed to atrophy again. He appointed scores of conservatives to the courts. We had no new wars between 2016 and 2020. The Russians didn't dare invade Ukraine. Taiwan would not dare try to grab Taiwan. Then 4 years of epic failure by Joe Biden or whoever was really running the country, because we both know it wasn't him. Really, I think opened Trump's eyes to the big picture. I think he had been educated, but his education really begins with the theft of the 2020 election. I'm sorry, more people voted in Philadelphia than are registered to vote. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
No, it's unlikely that Joe Biden got 20% more of the African-American vote in the Black precincts than Barack Obama.
Right.
It's a fraud brought to you by Norm Eisen and Neil Keitel and Andrew Weissman and these other criminals. So I think that he's going to be a much greater president in this term than he would have been had he been rightfully reelected in 2020. And you can see it. You can see the bounce in his step. You can see what a good time that he's having. He's a happy warrior. Watching him last night at Mar-a-Lago, he is, and he's just warming up. I mean, I think that there's a lot more, not only to happen, but a lot more to be revealed. So I agree with you. I think this is a much more energized, much more informed, much more focused presidency. And again, I stress that he's put an all-star team of people around him, people who know how to get things done, people of extraordinary courage and capability. But most importantly, all of his appointees so far, they're loyal to the America First agenda. They understand that their job is not to delay or dilute or derail Trump's agenda. Their job is to get it done. Tom Homan comes to mind as one of the very best examples of this. So I really do believe America is about to enter a golden age. Call it the golden age of Trump, if you will. It is nothing less than an unprecedented period of peace, prosperity, security, justice, and law and order. As the president likes to say, the best is yet to come.
And I think you left one out. I think it's one of your personal favorites, if I'm going by your Twitter, Christine Ohm over at DHS. It's truly a massive difference from 2016 to 2020. Roger, it's been a month now to the day, and we haven't had one leak out of the White House. Not one leak that Trump said something, he slurred his words, or Trump had 2 ice cream cones or 6 Diet Cokes. He's got this thing so tight-knit, which is what he needed, because in 2016, you had these rats running around, leaking, lying, writing books. Everyone got a book deal when they left that 2020 White House for $1 million. It's sick. That's not how it should be. You should do your time as a civil servant, make your little bit of money, and you come out and you get a decent job when you leave. That's usually how it's been. But these folks all wanted to be justice warriors, coming out writing novels and stories. And you know what? It only helped Trump in the end. It seems this time around, everyone has fallen in line with what Donald Trump wants. It doesn't seem like any one of these members in his cabinet has their own personal agenda that they're willing to put forward and show us their true colors, even if they do have it. It seems like they're all just yes men. Is that what you get from it?
No, I think that's an understatement. Look, I think all of them are brilliant in their own way.
Yeah, of course.
And they know the subject matter. So Robert Kennedy is uniquely qualified for the job that he's taken, having spent his life studying these issues. He's going to tackle the epidemic of childhood chronic disease. He's going to be looking into the safety of the drugs that are being given to our families. In some cases, they're drugs that people like Tony Fauci tried to mandate. So I don't think it's a team of yes men. I think it's a team of exceptionally capable individuals, but they know who the boss is. Right. As for the question of no leaks, look, I think that Susie Wiles, the first woman White House chief of staff, is doing an incredible job of asserting what previous Trump operations have not had, which is to say discipline. One team all pulling in the same direction. You don't see the kind of backbiting, you don't see the kind of leaking, you don't see the kind of log rolling and self-aggrandizement that you saw in the past. I think she's exceptionally able. She's laid down the law in terms of leaks. And if you're in the Trump White House and you're not carrying out the president's instructions and you're leaking, you're not going to be there very long. During the campaign, there were many, many people out there second-guessing her leadership, second-guessing the leadership of Chris LaCivita, who I think is one of the great political warriors of the day. He's a guy who knows how to get it done, knows how to win. Second-guessing whether the campaign was adequately prepared when it came to the question of election integrity. But you'll recall, John, when they stopped early voting in some of the Republican precincts in Pennsylvania in the middle of the day because the line of people went around the block and down the street, the Trump campaign and the Republican Party were in court within an hour and a half. So they were exceedingly well prepared. Spent a lot of time on X doing battle with those who are second guessing the campaign, and they all turned out to be wrong. So I give a lot of credit to Susie Wiles. I think she's doing a terrific job. Are there some things I don't agree with? Yes, but very few, very few. I think it is going to be the most consequential presidency in my lifetime.
Yeah, I don't think you get paid enough money to provide the commentary you do on Twitter or X. Truly brilliant. And before I go to bed every night, I spend hours, probably more than I should, scrolling through Twitter. And my timeline is just Roger Stone doing full-on trolls of just about everybody in America. So it provides a great deal of commentary. Folks, we're talking with our favorite weekly guest, the great Roger Stone. We're coming right back with him. Stay with us.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Folks, we're back with the great Roger Stone, our favorite weekly guest. He's the host of the Stone Zone. You catch him each and every night. You can also catch him on the radio for two or 3 hours every Sunday, Roger.
3 hours at 77 WABC. Look, I think I can announce here that starting next week, I'll be doing a daily show at 77 WABC from 8 to 9 Eastern every evening. And then I'll be doing 2 hours on Sunday. So that's quite a change for me. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm very honored to be on 77 WABC. It is the most powerful AM radio signal in the United States, probably the most influential and entertaining radio station in the country. So I'm going to be expanding my presence there and really looking forward to it.
Congratulations, Roger. I don't think there's anyone more deserving. You're the second hardest working man I know to Lou Dobbs. God rest his soul. right before Lou passed, they had asked a radio station had asked him to do, I think it was an hour or two during the week. And Lou was like, yeah. And at this point, he's doing the podcast, Roger. He's doing his Lindell TV show, and he's doing an hour on every Sunday. And Lou goes, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. And Lou's wife goes, whoa. What do you think you're doing here? The man worked to his last living breath. God bless him. But he absolutely, he called me on a Sunday after he did his radio show, Roger, and he was just the happiest ever. I'd never done radio. He loved it. He loved it more than television. He loved it more than the podcast. He loved it more than everything. He loved talking with the people. So, we're praying for you and we're pulling for you. And I'm sure you don't need the prayers because you're going to do great. So congratulations. Roger, I want to turn to Bernie Sanders. It's a man who you take aim on Twitter quite often. The money his family has made in politics, as the rest of them have. By the way, in the first segment, you had said we're probably going to see offshore bank accounts, according to what Timmy Burchett said. I don't think they'd even be so smart to do that. They're so bold and brazen, these people, Roger. It's probably sitting in a Bank of America account somewhere because nobody cares. It's just the truth of the matter. So speaking of Bernie Sanders, he's saying, of course there's problems with government programs. There's going to be problems anywhere. Now, notice it's taken DOGE for him to come out and say that. He says we should look into Social Security, but we should also be looking into corporations as well, private corporations. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Bernie Sanders is a honking, loudmouth pain in the ass. He's a fraud. He and his wife skimmed millions of dollars in media commissions from his 2 presidential campaigns. Became extremely wealthy. The man has 3 vacation homes. He's driving a top-of-the-line Mercedes. So it's socialism for thee, but not for me. He lied in the hearings with Robert Kennedy. He said, I don't take any money from Big Pharma when he's taken millions. He's a faux socialist. There's nothing socialist about him. I lost all respect for him. Look, I figured the guy was just a communist with weird ideas that he really believed. But his 2 endorsements of Hillary Clinton demonstrate that he stands for nothing whatsoever other than enriching Bernie. So for a man who's never had a job that wasn't on the public payroll, how has he become so wealthy? I think it's a legitimate question. Just the sound of his annoying voice and his shaking his fingers while lying with a straight face, which is his greatest talent, by the way, his ability to just lie with a straight face is extremely annoying. I thought Kennedy took him to the cleaners in that hearing, pointing out that he was a biased witness. I mean, he is taking a ton of money, not as much as Pocahontas, as I call her, but, millions of dollars from Big Pharma. Maybe that's why he's looked the other way regarding the COVID-19 vaccination. This guy is, if that's the future of the Democrat Party, the guy's 90 years old and can barely stand up. And when you try to ask him a question, I saw him pointing at somebody and calling him a right-winger. If he's a right-winger, Bernie, you're a communist. You took your honeymoon in Russia. What was it you like about Russia? The way they crushed dissidents and killed Christians? Yeah. Was that the part you liked the most, or what?
Yeah, I that's, you probably hit the nail right on the head. I sort of have the same take on it as you. I kind of respected him in 2016. The election was stolen from him. I thought he was going to take a stand. Clearly stolen from him. And he didn't. He folded like a cheap lawn chair, which shows you he doesn't actually believe what he preaches. He's just a phony like the rest of them. But these Dems, Roger, go ahead.
One key point, and I do think it's telling. So Tulsi Gabbard, who we all know is a former Democrat, resigned her position as vice chairman of the Democrat National Committee to protest the fact that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who is every man's first wife, and the Democrat National Committee stole the nomination for Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders wasn't even a Democrat 6 months before he sought the Democrat nomination. He had run as an independent and elected as a faux socialist. So she resigned her position to endorse Bernie Sanders. Yet Bernie Sanders did not vote to confirm her at DNI, which shows what a complete piece of human garbage Bernie Sanders really is. There's not only does he believe, the only thing he really believes in is lining Bernie's pockets while screaming about the proletariat. and he doesn't even have any human decency. Here's a woman who put her career on the line for him, but he wouldn't support her. Really disgraceful.
Yeah, it's about when he's going to make the next dollar. I mean, it's truly what it is. The man's a joke and a sellout and a disgrace. There's a reason why he's never had a real job in his life, and he's been a senator his whole life. Millions of dollars. What people don't realize is the money that is made in ad sales, Roger. 10%. You do the math. 10% on $1 million ad is how much? $100,000. Easy money. Easy money. And you're doing millions of dollars in ad buying and during a presidential campaign. And his wife made, I think it was like $2.4 million in the first one and then another few million in the next one. It's truly a joke. And he wants to come out here and preach to us. The Dems are crying about, this is the latest one, Roger. The JFK library had to close down because there's no money. They're not making any money. The government is cutting the money to them. But I want to go through the payrolls of some of these folks because I'm looking to become a librarian if this is the case, Roger. The president of the JFK library makes, Roger, $1.25 million and works an average of 39.9 hours a week. The executive director just underneath her makes about $500,000 a year, working 38 hours a week. The list goes on. The chief financial officer, $365,000 a year. How is it possible people on a public payroll are making this much money, Roger, to be librarians?
It's extraordinary. I saw Maria Shriver tweeting about that last night or posting on X. Look, you ruined Arnold's governorship because he governed identically to Gray Davis, the governor he replaced. Somewhere, Arnold used to be one of my heroes, once described himself as a Ronald Reagan Republican. Today, he's a leftist Democrat, says we had no right to question the COVID-19 vaccination. Very weird.
Yeah.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, yesterday, I believe at the end of the day, I read that there's $4.7 trillion of payouts that they can't even identify where the money went. I mean, this is a crisis of epidemic proportions, and people are apoplectic about Elon Musk. Like, well, nobody elected him. Well, nobody elected Anthony Fauci,
right?
For example. Yet he was able to abuse his position once again, not only to kill hundreds of thousands of people, but also to line his pockets, he and his wife, with millions while doing so. No, the whole unelected appointee thing is an absurdity. I think DOGE is doing an amazing job. You have to admire the high-tech skills of these people to get at the heart of the problem. And look, I'm going to predict it right now. I think you agree with me. When we get to Fort Knox, don't be shocked when there's no gold there, or when the gold that is there doesn't belong to the American people, it belongs to some private bank, if it's even there.
You know what? I was joking with Rod Blagojevich about this yesterday. I think we should send down Senator Goldbar himself, Mr. Bob Menendez. If he was already down there, I can guarantee you, Roger, that there ain't an ounce of gold left in that place. It's truly unbelievable.
As you know, Ron Paul, who's a great man, the last vote I cast in a Republican presidential primary was for Ron Paul. And then because we nominated Mitt Romney, which I could not stomach, I briefly joined the Libertarian Party. And then because of state law, I didn't switch back to being a Republican soon enough to be able to vote for Donald Trump in the 2016 primary. Of course, I have voted for him in Florida since then. But Ron Paul, who's 90, I believe, I really think instead of giving the Medal of Freedom to Hillary Clinton and George Soros and Nancy Pelosi, as Joe Biden did, I really think President Trump should give the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the highest civilian award that you can be given, to Ron Paul. I've set up a petition online at ronpaulmedal.com, ronpaulmedal.com. My plan is to try to collect 1 million names and to present them to President Trump to urge him to give Ron Paul the Medal of Freedom while he's still with us. Now, I think he's perfectly well. He's still doing interviews. He's still more than vital. He's still energetic, still out there talking about liberty and freedom. But he is the man who laid the groundwork for everything we're experiencing. His views are the underlying dogma of the America First movement. His challenge of the police state, for example, his relentless criticism of the Federal Reserve and its illegitimacy. These really changed the orthodoxy of the Republican Party. We went from being the party of Wall Street and the country clubs and the Bushes to being the party of working people, party of common sense, party of freedom. So I really hope that President Trump will give Congressman Ron Paul the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I hope he does it this year. Again, you can go to ronpaulmedal.com to sign my online petition.
You heard the man. Roger, we're going to take one more quick break here in our final segment. I want to take up your vision moving forward, what we can expect for the next 2 years going into midterm elections. Can the Republicans get what they're going to get done? I also want to talk about a good friend of yours, Eric Adams, and the job that he's maybe going to do or maybe not going to do. He's finding himself in a very peculiar situation right now, one that I don't think we've seen anyone in a very long time, if ever. We're coming right back with the great Roger Stone, folks. Stay with us.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Folks, we're back with the great Roger Stone, our favorite weekly guest, host of the Stone Zone. You catch him on the radio now, starting next week, each and every night, 8 to 9 p.m. Roger's the hardest working man currently in show business. Roger, I want to turn to a man who you're not very fond of, Eric Adams. I was on board with President Trump wiping his slate clean, and then I talked to you, and you pulled me a little bit the other way. Then I talked to you again, and you've pulled me now on the complete side where you've got me arguing with Lou's wife each and every day that he shouldn't have got the charges wiped. We shouldn't be justifying that the man's a criminal, that he's corrupt. Like I said, I spoke with Rod Blagojevich, a man who was thrown in jail, was given the book for being allegedly corrupt, yet he was found guilty on one of the 24 charges in a first trial, and then miraculously a second trial, they got him on all of them after the judge instructed the jury to maybe do things a little bit differently. Yet Eric Adams is getting a free pass because he's going to help Tom Homan. To my understanding, Roger, Donald Trump doesn't need Eric Adams. He doesn't need Kathy Hochul. To me, the whole sanctuary city thing is a bunch of BS, and I'll tell you why. On day one of President Trump winning the election, or I should say day two, they were in deep blue cities, Roger. They knew exactly where these folks were, and they were rounding up 1,000 of them a day without the helps of the deep blue governors or mayors. So they knew where these folks were. So what it really is a sanctuary city then anyway. Your thoughts with Eric Adams and the whole deal that was made?
Well, look, I don't want to disagree with the president.
Of course.
And this is probably the only area where we have some disagreement. But first of all, the charges against Eric Adams are not trivial, and they're not minor, and they're not politically motivated. Eric Adams took, and this is the only part we know because there are 3 still sealed indictments, which we've never seen, and they're sealed for purposes of national security, which means they're likely to involve foreign money. In the one indictment we have seen, Eric Adams took $100,000 from Turkey. He allowed the Turks to inhabit a building in Manhattan without an occupancy permit, because to bring the building up to code and get that permit would have cost the Turks millions of dollars. So you have the quid pro quo. Then, to make it worse, he takes the $100,000, he launders it to U.S. citizens who then submit it to New York City's 8-to-1 campaign finance matching program, turning $100,000 into nearly $800,000. Now, I hate to shock Kat Timpf on Fox, but that is not getting bumped up from coach to first class on Turkish Airlines and getting an extra Bloody Mary. It's a very serious violation of both state and federal crime. We don't even know what the other 3 sealed indictments that were filed late last week have in them. But we do know that the acting attorney general, who dismissed the charges against Adams, it says in his statement that charges were not even reviewed. The evidence was not even reviewed, that the charges were being dismissed because they interfered with his reelection. Boy, that didn't seem to bother the liberals when they were trying to put Donald Trump in jail. Right. And because he's cooperating with ICE. Well, I know Tom Homan. If he stood in the way of ICE, he would have been arrested. So I don't think he has a whole lot of choice. I really am at a loss when there are cases out there of weaponization by the criminal justice system that really do deserve review. For example, that of Roger Ver, the Bitcoin founder, one of the founders of cryptocurrency, who they are seeking to prosecute for tax evasion because the government's evaluation of his tax debt based on their lack of understanding of cryptocurrency is incorrect. He paid millions, but he didn't pay millions enough, they say. They want to put him in jail for that. There's an example of a case that should be reviewed. By the way, the FBI raided his tax attorney's office to seize his tax records, which is unheard of. He had a formal legal opinion from one of the best tax attorneys, tax law firms in the country that came up with what he still argues is the correct formula for what he owes. But there was a long history of harassment of Roger Ver, where he had been prosecuted earlier, I think because he was a major donor to conservative and libertarian causes. Now, there's a case that should be looked at by the Attorney General and by the Justice Department. But instead, we're putting Eric Adams, a man who engaged, according to this indictment, which I have written extensively about at stonezone.com, we're dismissing those charges. Now, you're right, we don't know what's going to happen. There's a couple possibilities. The New York Democrats are apoplectic. They now realize that Eric Adams has the goods on them. Believe me, he knows everything that Letitia James has done. And I'm going to tell you that deep research into Letitia James will show campaign finance fraud, personal finance fraud, the cover-up, the sexual assault by her chief of staff of at least 3 women, and I think even one instance where a woman came forward and claimed that Letitia herself had sexually assaulted this woman.
Makes sense.
She funded her campaign for attorney general with millions of dollars of fraudulent money, laundered money. She's here's the best part. She got a $400,000 mortgage on a property worth $120,000. So in other words, just to boil that down, she did exactly what she falsely accused Donald Trump of doing. So I think it's only a matter of time before Letitia James is brought to justice. And Eric Adams used to be a member of the club, knows where all those bodies are buried. This is going to be delightful to see. That's the only positive aspect I can see coming out of this. Otherwise, candidly, the dismissal of charges against Eric Adams on the thin reed that, he's going to help us root out illegals from New York. I mean, are these the illegals where he put a migrant shelter next to a Catholic girls' school in Staten Island?
Right.
By the way, the whole narrative that he was singled out and prosecuted because he was a critic of the open borders policy, that's a lie. He ran for mayor of New York City as a full-throated advocate for New York City being a sanctuary city. He said illegals would always be welcome in New York City. Now, suddenly, he's concerned about the way the January 6th victims were treated. That was about 2 weeks ago. Really, Eric, why didn't you mention that 4 years ago when it happened? Why are you just coming up with this now? No, I think it is a mistake.
Tish James, I don't know if you've seen pictures of her lately, but she does not look well. She looks very unhealthy. Everything about her demeanor, she's angry. I mean, not doing well, and she's got to assume something's going to happen. What can Donald Trump do as a politico, as the president of the United States, with his southern district, with his administration, to start investigating these people, Roger? Because, like I said, when I was talking to Rod Blagojevich, I asked him, I said, is the weaponization of this government over? Are we finally seen enough? Have the Democrats had enough? Donald Trump, it seems, is not looking for retribution against these folks, although I think he should be. And Rod said, no, this is just the beginning. They're going to keep going. So what can Donald Trump do? What should Donald Trump do to get the ball rolling, to make these people's life hell, like they did to him, like they did to you, like they did to Paul Manafort, like they did to General Flynn? I could keep going, Roger. What can he do to finally say enough is enough? If you guys are going to play this game, we're going to play back the same way as you.
Look, I'm not a lawyer, and this is up to a grand jury, but I can just tell you that investigative journalists, some already have, and others will, have shocking exposures and revelations about Tish James. And she clearly has violated the law. If you follow the X account of Sam Antar, who is a financial analyst and genius, this is a guy who was himself convicted of a major financial fraud back in the 70s. And then after turning his life around, does a great blog called whitecollarcrime.com. He shows her using her campaign funds for lavish Caribbean vacations. That's a violation of the tax law. She could be charged under federal law because that's a violation of IRS laws and regulations. That's just one example. We're going to find that much of the money that flowed into her campaign for Attorney General through Act Blue, the people who are listed in the campaign finance reports as having given that money, when you contacted them, they didn't give that money. They don't know what you're talking about. This is a widespread fraud. So I have to believe that prosecutors in the Southern or Eastern District of New York should be taking a hard look at her. I agree with you. She looks to me like she's binge eating. She does not look healthy. She does not look well. What the abuse of power on her part in the Trump case is extraordinary. And now I think that she's going to pay the price. The difference is the charges against her won't be trumped up and manufactured. They'll be accurate and they'll be serious.
Yeah, it's about time. I want to turn to Roger as we wrap up here, your vision going forward, what we could expect over the next 4 years. You and I both know the Republicans always find a way to F up an empty lot. And the poll numbers we're seeing, Roger, I'm sure you probably didn't even see in the Reagan administration. I don't know if you saw, there was a focus group about 2 weeks ago in Arizona, 10 Biden voters in 2020, all voted for Trump in 2024. They were polled on every single issue that Donald Trump is doing, including the border, and which is the biggest border crackdown we've ever seen in our lives. All 10 of them agreed on every issue brought forward. Roger, you and I, who have very similar bad minds, couldn't agree probably where to go to dinner tonight if we were going to dinner. Yet you got 10 people who were able to seamlessly agree on everything Donald Trump's doing. And some Republicans consider it radical what Donald Trump's doing with the deportations. I love it. I think it's amazing. And he's keeping his promise. But nonetheless, the Republicans always find a way to screw an empty lot. What's your thoughts on how the Republicans, as a brilliant politico, need to move forward? I have to tip my hat to John Thune. I thought he's a rhino. I still think he's a rhino, but he's done a great job so far with getting through these appointments. No BS, nothing. We'll see how he governs, but so far, so good on him. Mike Johnson's been a little bit quiet. What's your thoughts on how we win this thing in 2026 and keep the House and keep the Senate and let Donald Trump have a full 4 years?
Well, first of all, let me correct you on one thing. If we were having dinner tonight, I can already tell you we'd be eating Italian. So,
more rhinos, baby.
But secondarily, look, it's very much like with Reagan. Politicians will rally to a popular leader. Donald Trump, sticking to the America First agenda, is going to be an extraordinary, continues to be, and is going to increasingly be an incredibly popular figure in America. So people who are not Trump Republicans will reinvent themselves as Trump Republicans. And as you saw in the confirmation votes, where frankly, Vice President J.D. Vance doesn't get enough credit because behind the scenes, he is the guy who was whipping votes. He was the guy maintaining the vote counts. He is the guy making assignments as to who needed to be spoken to, who needed to be lobbied, who the various candidates needed to go see. He was the one coordinating the grassroots efforts so that senators from, say, Indiana, for example, heard from the people back home that they expected their Republican senators to support the Republican nominee, cabinet nominee of a Republican president. All of these so-called rhinos, they voted gladly for Joe Biden's nominees because, well, they told us at the time they felt the president was entitled to have the people he wanted.
Yep.
So in the end, J.D. Vance, unsung hero of this terrific effort to confirm all of the president's nominees. And I see that contrary to history, I don't think we're going to lose seats in the midterm election. I actually think we're going to gain seats because our economy will be cooking, because the war in Russia and Ukraine will be over, because Trump will have demonstrated to the American people that the $350 plus billion that we ship there, much of it has been stolen. People will have even less belief in places like the New York Times. Why would the federal government pay the New York Times $140 million? Why would the U.S. government be paying Politico, which is not a journalistic enterprise, but a propaganda front for misfits, written by misfits? Why would we pay them $80 million? These things don't make any sense to the American people. The American people work very hard. They pay their taxes. They go to school. They go to work. They had tough times in recent years making ends meet. And then they see these bureaucrats and these politicians living the high life on their tax dollars. So I think Trump is only going to become stronger. The Republican Party is really not the point. That's not the division in America today. The division in America today is between the globalists who favor war and censorship and want to give a pass to big pharma and big food. I really don't care. As long as profits are fat, doesn't matter what they're forcing on our families. And those on the other side who are nationalists in the sense that they believe in peace and they believe in free speech and they believe that people who commit crimes, real crimes, should be held accountable. So that's the division. Republican and Democrat, these are almost like outdated terms. So I think there's a giant realignment in the party in which common sense Democrats like Robert Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat, has become a Republican. Rod Blagojevich, who we both have such a high regard for. Common sense Democrats are rallying to the banner of Donald Trump. Trumpism will always be more popular than Republicanism. Yeah. And as I said earlier, I think we're about to enter that golden age that Trump speaks of. A golden age of peace, prosperity, security, justice, and law and order. This is going to be the greatest period in my life, the greatest period in the life of the country.
As we wrap up here, Roger, I just got to say, you'd said that Trumpism is more popular than Republicanism. And the truth of the matter is the Republican Party was dying 8 years ago. It was absolutely dead. Think about who the nominees were. You had John McCain, you had Mitt Romney back to back, Paul Ryan in there mixed up as well. It was a dying party. There was nothing populist about it. They couldn't resonate with voters. It was rich old white men who thought they only needed to go outreach to rich old white men and rich old white women, and the party was dead. It was why we hadn't won the damn election. We lost to Obama twice. I mean, Donald Trump really came in and saved this damn thing and made it cool. He made it popular to be a Republican. You see the numbers among Hispanics and blacks and kids 18 to 24, 18 to 34. resonating with Donald Trump. This was something we didn't see before when you had the John McCain's of the world and you had the Paul Ryans of the world and Mitt Romney's running the party, Roger. It was dead. I want to conclude with you had said we're going to gain seats in the House and the Congress. As a political strategist, Roger, if you see any seat open, you give me a call. I'll move to wherever I got to move to run for it. I'll make you a deal. I'll do 2 years. I'm going to come out, and me and you are going to open up a hedge fund together because I'm going to be a stock maven by the time I get out of there in 2 years. Roger, you get the last word here, brother.
Keep an eye on Texas 28, where Congressman Henry Cuellar, I think it's Cuellar. Yeah. I always mispronounce his name. But he and his wife have been indicted on 14 Menendez-type charges of corruption. John Furman, who is a hard-charging former Navy commander, got within 4 points without any help from the National Party in the last election. I think there's going to be a special election there. Keep an eye on New York 21. If the Republican Party bosses nominate a rhino, we're going to lose that seat. If they nominate a Trump Republican, we will win that seat. That has to be watched very carefully because in a special election scenario, there is no Republican primary.
Is that Elise Stefanik's seat?
That is Elise Stefanik's seat, where I think Anthony Constantino, you remember him?
Yeah.
The guy who put the vote for Trump sign on top of his very successful factory, the biggest employer in the district, risked going to jail. By the way, he's being fined $1,000 a day, even today, because he won't take down that sign. But he refuses to take down the sign. He tells me he's going to change the sign to say America loves Trump. And they'll continue to fine him $1,000 a day while they violate his free speech rights. But if we nominate him, I think we'll win the seat. If we nominate a state senator who refused to endorse Trump in 2016 or 2024, the grassroots will not be energized. And sadly, we could lose the seat.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right on all fronts. We need to clean up these blue states. Starts with New York and ends with Jersey. Jersey's going to be in a place that I think is going to be in play. I know we didn't get much to talk about it. We'll talk about it soon, though. I think it's going to be in play if we get the right gubernatorial candidate. People have had enough, Roger. You look, 1 million votes swinging. It's really 2 million from California, 2 million from New York. I mean, it's a political movement that we need to keep rolling. Whoever the nominee is in 2028 needs to keep this Trump train going. Roger, as always, it's great to talk with you. Who's your guest this Sunday on the radio show? Can you tell us?
Not yet. I'm still booking guests, but tune in from 3 to 6 Eastern. No matter where you are in the country, you can listen at WABCradio.com from 3 to 6 Eastern this Sunday. One thing we will be talking about is the effort to end the cruel and inhumane scientific experiments on dogs and cats and other primates that we were able to stop during Donald Trump's first presidency. Biden began doing it again. We're going to talk about how to save the animals this Sunday on The Roger Stone Show, WABCradio.com. See you there.
Roger, all things, and they won't leave the friggin' animals alone. It's truly insane to me. But Anthony Fauci, he's gone. Hopefully we can stop that. Folks, make sure you tune in to Roger Stone each and every night on the Stone Zone, stonezone.com, Rumble, wherever you guys get your podcasts, and each and every Sunday on Roger's radio show, 77 WABC. And starting next week, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, you can catch him on the radio. A busy man. Roger, we'll see you next week, brother.
Thanks, John. God bless you.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us today. Please be sure to join us back here tomorrow, folks, for the Great America Show, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. As always, see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. Till then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.